By the time he retired from boxing, Ali was an orthodox Muslim and a follower of Imam W. Deen Muhammad. Muslim businessmen began to realize his marketing potential and reached out to embrace this image that had grown to embrace people throughout the world.
And we want to now at this time introduce and present to you the champion of the world who will always be the champion of the world, a man who no one is qualified to introduce. No one is qualified to describe what it was like to make a decision that was unpopular and have the courage and the conviction to stand in front of the world when it was unpopular and tell the world that my faith and my principle and my commitment is more important to me than anything on the face of the earth. Today it's easy to look back and say he was great, but he is more than great. He is the greatest because he captures all of the feelings all of us would like to have. Children who are growing up, going to school and sometimes getting discouraged. Mothers who go to work every day and come home and sometimes need just a little inspiration. Muhammad Ali has become the greatest to the world because he was prepared to pay the price to prove what the human being is capable of.
In my travels throughout the world, after becoming a Muslim, accepting the name of Muhammad Ali from the late great Elijah Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has made me the most popular human being on earth. And in the short lifetime that we have here, and been offered so many deals and arrangements and positions, occupations, it's confusing on what do I want to do in my life. So today is the first step at preparing myself for the day that I do retire.
Following his diagnosis of Parkinson's syndrome, his energy never wavered as he supported causes throughout the country, such as building an Islamic institution in Los Angeles.
I mean, the world is watching. The world is watching. They've been watching you all your life. You know that. We really thank you for coming out, and we just wanted to have you on camera giving the greetings to the people of South Central Los Angeles. Today is a magnificent day, and you make it all the more special for us.
Inshallah, I'm praying Allah that everything is successful and go as planned. And I only been the first people to enter the new masjid.
Alhamdulillah, the door is always open.
Without a doubt, the unsung part of Muhammad Ali's life has been his wife and partner, Lani Ali. Over the years, this Muslim woman has not only revived the Ali legacy, but has been an inspirational role model for all Muslim women in America.
Right now, there are three attitudes that exist toward the Muslim woman in society globally. The first one is an exaggeration of the interpretation of the Islamic law and an imposed strictness on the woman. Two, a very loose interpretation of Islamic law that originated in the West and has been imitated by others. And three, a more moderate interpretation of the law. First, let me say this to all of you, though I believe innately most of you are aware of this. Aberrations in the behavior and understanding of Muslims is sometimes not dictated by the teachings of Islam as given to us in the Quran and the Sunnah, but by culture and subcultures, and in a particular area where Islam is practiced. I have traveled to several Islamic countries with my husband, and in each country I have visited, I have tried to seek out the women and try to understand their condition and how they are treated and viewed in that country. And to be honest, even in the Islamic countries, there are various degrees of strictness. I have never once observed a looseness in any of these women in these countries. In some countries, there were differences even from city to city. That is where the idea of a particular subculture's influence exists in a given area. In some cities, I thought I had stepped into the dark ages. I tend to judge advancement and position through education because enlightened women tend to enjoy more rights than those who have not been given the opportunity to be educated. In other cities within the same country, the status of women would be quite different. They seem to have a strong presence and appear to be very well versed and educated and aware. But it really bothers me, and I dislike it, when Westerners see these situations where the Muslim women are not very well educated or not educated at all, and they're tied to the house, and they develop the attitude that Islam enslaves women and in some way makes them second-class citizens. We have all heard that before. But what I am finding out is that they are witnessing a cultural custom, not Islam, but because they happen to be in a predominantly Islamic country or an Islamic state, then they assume this must be Islam. After all, the woman is Muslim, her husband's Muslim, her children are Muslim, so this is what Islam teaches. But they are very, very wrong. I was raised a Roman Catholic, and my father taught me a long time ago when I would come home and question him about why sister so-and-so would do this to that child and why father so-and-so did this to the other child, because I really didn't understand their behavior. They were Catholics, and Catholics were at the top of the religious hierarchy, and I had to stop a lot of that because that's the way we were taught as Catholics. We were taught that. They ranked the religions, if you can believe that. My father would say to me, never judge a religion based on the people who practice it. We are all human and make errors, and sometimes serious ones. Always go to the source of the religion if you really want to understand it. So I say to all of you, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, if you want to know what Islam is all about, go to the source. Read the Quran and study the Hadith of the Prophet. That is how you find out about Islam, not from a tour of the Middle East or from the American media. This book is out there on the table, and I would strongly suggest that all of you purchase it. Because if you need to know where to look to find a list of what your rights are as Islamic women, I would suggest you go to the original sources, not to books written by others, but to read the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. For Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, is all-wise, and he is the all-knowing. He is also the all-merciful. Therefore, he provided a blueprint for all of us to follow 1,400 years ago that would last until the day of judgment. He already knew then what state the Muslim woman would be in today during the 21st century. None of this is news to him. However, we sometimes forget that. Our guidebook was written a long time ago, so let's read it regularly and keep ourselves on the path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended for us.
If it were possible for them to get a fair trial, there would be no necessity for a trial at all.
It began as a quest for basic human rights.
These are the victims of police bullets, and you don't take the victim in court.
It attracted some of the most prominent names in contemporary history.
All these black people in Hollywood, all these movie stars, time for them to unite and help these poor black people out here.
It became one of the most significant movements in the 20th century.
Wherever you find a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you find him working to ensure the survival of the black man in our crucial time into which we have entered.
Now, experience the passion.
Building a school is not an end in itself. Seeing emerging generations of graduates is
the struggle.
The only reason why 9/11 happened is that people took Islam and adulterated it.
And the birth of a city of Muslims. This epic documentary tells an amazing story of American courage.
We must buy black and back black.
In the face of overwhelming odds.
Home is where my grandchildren are being brought up, not where my grandparents are buried.
It's the documentary that will change your view on Islam in America.
God has chosen us.
City of Muslims.